What's going on, good people out there in YouTube land? It is the Bad Wolf. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. We are going to be talking about the civil flag, peace flag, American flag, U.S. corporate flag, and the lying AI. Now, why would the AI lie? Well, it is utilizing the available information provided by the Maritime Admiralty Public Jurisdiction because common law, constitutional law, especially common law, is not written down. Common law says what makes sense is. Maritime law is specific. They have to write it down. It's for the public. Constitutional law is in the book. But these systems aren't reading constitutional law. Most of the constitutional law is in the books, and most of those books have not been digitized. So it's pulling from the internet, which is 90-some% based in public law, maritime law. So the shortcut of reading through this here is that it talks about the civil flag not being official, but then it talks about it has its roots back here in the 1900s. Peace flag is not official, and it does not follow the definition of the U.S. of America flag under Title IV, and it says stars and stripes design, 13 red stripes, red and white stripes, alternating in a blue field with 50 stars, is the only and official flag. Right? Did you hear anything in there talking about gold fringes? No. Then they try to throw in the sovereign stuff, and you can't, there's no such thing. Sovereign means king, citizen means employee or member of the public. You can't be private and public at the same time. You can be one or the other in any event, but you can't be both in any one event. You have both to use, you can't be both. This is a slang word of defamation you can sue over, used by mostly law enforcement and some government agencies. But they can't prosecute you underneath this because it has no standing in law. It's not a real thing. They would have to own the word. They would have to say, we're going to claim that this word is real. Okay. And they'd have to say, this falls underneath our jurisdiction. Well, it can't. It's an oxymoron. Because they would have to own sovereign citizens, and they can't. They only have jurisdiction over the public, and that's a citizen, a U.S. citizen. But what they do is they prosecute you as a U.S. citizen who's not obeying U.S. laws of the corporation. So they can't prosecute you under this, but you can sue them over this defamation of character. So let's look at this. Oh, by the way, this is all education, entertainment, informational purposes only. Thank you for hitting that bell, like, and subscribe. Welcome to the tribe. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, my alternate one, which is the Bad Wolf Media channel. You can check me out on TikTok, Instagram. I'm on all those. Thank you to all those people who donate. And to anybody who doesn't like the fact that I ask for donations, I really don't care. That's how I survive, is with donations and money from YouTube and the consultations. I mean, this is my job, bro. People out here trying to knock how I make money, and those people don't support other than a thumbs up? You want to complain about me asking? Hey man, you took like 5 minutes talking about it, and you took away from me getting information from you for free. Lord have mercy. The delusion in this world is almighty. But let's take a look here where like he doesn't have fast forward on his phone. Maybe his screen is cracked. I don't know, who knows. But let's take a look here as to why the AI is lying. We're going to prove it right now.
The gold fringe on the U.S. flag is purely decorative and has no special legal or symbolic meaning under U.S. law. It is common.
Okay, hold on. So two things. I digress. So some people have asked what happened to the Telegram group. Okay, first of all, we have two groups. Okay, one was more private, one was public. I ran both of them to see how it worked, and the public one, though I had admins in there and friends, to let me know what's going on. It's not something that I have time to maintain. Not enough feedback was getting back to me on how to keep bots out and uh, people who keep pretending to be me and scamming people. So I shut it down along with other people we all agreed that we'll just let it go. The other group is still private. So to keep people out, it's the people who are in there now and send invites to their friends and family. Don't ask me for the link. I'm far too busy about that. Either you're in the group, and if you know anybody in the group, then uh, find them and request a link from them. People giving out the link, please make sure you send it to only reputable people you know. Don't just post it for a whole bunch of people. I've never wanted a ton of people in those groups because unfortunately it turns into a whole bunch of agents and backstabbers and people who talk about you behind your back and scammers, people pretending to be me. I don't need it. That's why I have the comments off most of the time on my videos. I want to focus on the work, not childish, full size, uh, uh, people playing games or rhetoric or drama. I'm not about it. All right, so let's get back to it. So here it says the U.S. flag, the gold fringe in the U.S. flag is purely decorative and has no special legal or symbolic meaning under U.S. law. Now, my interpretation of the statement is that under the United States of America, it has no meaning. But this doesn't mean it has no legal or symbolic meaning. We're going to prove it. So imagine this. If U.S. law, American jurisprudence does not recognize the gold fringe, that just means that this is operating in a bubble underneath its law. And in that bubble, the United States says, hey, you can do what you want to do down there in your own little bubble underneath us, as long as it doesn't affect people's constitutional rights. Do what you want to do. Have your little customs and ceremonies and, little trinkets that mean things that we don't know. You guys can do what you guys want to do down there in the basement. But we don't see it. So that's the problem. When you go to the federal courts and you talk about this, they don't know what you're talking about. Some of the judges, even in these lower courts, which are called nisi prius, they don't know what it means. They don't study it. When I researched the gold fringe, it says it has been lost to antiquity, but we know it's under maritime law because the courts operate under maritime law. How do we know that? What does maritime mean? Maritime means on the water. Our Constitution operates on land, which is terra firma. Those are two different jurisdictions underneath the same family umbrella. So let's see what it says here. We're going to prove that it's lying.
Commonly seen on indoor flags in courts.
Whoa, you just said that it has no meaning. But here you're saying that it's commonly found in flags in the courts. That's pretty specific. Somebody's buying these flags specifically. These are specific orders. Somebody knows what they mean. Sometimes, though, people carry on traditions from way back and they don't even know what it means. Why do you throw salt over your shoulder? You don't know where it came from, how it started, but you do it. You have a basic understanding of its meaning. So somebody has an understanding of its meaning. Somebody has a book out there that has the actual secret. Well, I'm here to tell you the actual secret is because the gold fringe represents the owners who came for our gold and have surrounded themselves with gold. What is the gold? Just like in the Wizard of Oz movie, it is the United States of America. Who are those people? The District of Columbia. Who owns the District of Columbia? Educational information only and legal speculation. The District of Columbia is owned by the Queen of England, the City of London, and the Vatican. They're all co-owners. How do I know that? I've seen the old time history books before they got rid of them. Yes, I'm that old. All the books that they got rid of and burned because they don't like that history. They want you to go to digital because digital can be easily edited, altered. But here they're pretty specific that it's for indoor courts. They don't say what courts. Let's keep going.
Courts, government offices, military ceremonies, and other official settings, but it does not alter the flag's symbolism or imply any changes in jurisdiction, authority, or law.
Yeah, it doesn't apply any changes because it's already in the maritime jurisdiction. So let's break this down. It says it's used in indoor flags and courts. Okay. Now, let me ask you the question down here. Are the courts under maritime jurisdiction? Says here, no, the U.S. courts are not automatically under maritime jurisdiction or admiralty. I'd even ask about admiralty unless they are dealing with specific cases related to maritime. So you're a liar. I didn't ask it for all courts, but here it says, but then it says, unless they are dealing with specific cases related to maritime. The courts are operating normally under maritime jurisdiction. It lied. Well, it legally lied, or it legally told a variation of the truth. So let's check this out. Is the United States under maritime law? Once again, it lied again. But look how it did it. It said no. The United States as a whole is not under maritime admiralty law. Maritime law, also called admiralty law, is a specific legal framework that applies only to navigable waters, ships, and maritime commerce. That's what they're doing. Maritime commerce. So AI is lying. They have abridged the Constitution by operating everything in maritime. So when you go to court, that's why they have a maritime gold fringe flag. Unless you ask them under what jurisdiction are you to be tried. I want this on the record, which means the public side and Constitution. So it's lying. It says the courts, the maritime law only applies in specific maritime cases. They're lying. Traffic tickets, it's lying right here. Traffic tickets. Now, criminal cases are constitutional. But the rest of these, family law, that's not federal. They won't touch this stuff. This is maritime. This is lying. It says the claim that the U.S. is secretly operating under maritime law is a conspiracy theory with no legal foundation. It's a lie. It just told you that anything under commerce, anything involving shipping, contracts, or disputes, right here. Maritime workers, which are federal employees. Anything considered to be in international waters. Do you see how they hide it? It just told you. So it started off up here as trying to, it says, no, the United States as a whole. That means the whole, everything on the United States of America is not under maritime. This is true. And then it says, but it's a specific legal framework that applies only to navigable waters. Well, what they're not saying here about navigable waters and waters like, see, they can have, I think it's up to 1 mile away from any water point or water point that was built by man's hands to operate, which is your toilet, which is your sink, anywhere where they built piping is a waterway. But they also can have access through navigable waterways. Ships, this means vessels. Your body's considered a vessel. Your birth was considered a vessel in dry dock. You came out of your mom's water canal. A trust is considered a vessel. The planet is considered a vessel. And maritime commerce. So when you're in maritime, you don't say maritime commerce, it's just called commerce. This is how you have to interpret their lies. These are not loose or fringe things. Here it says, if you are in court for any regular legal matter, you are subject to the normal laws of the United States, not maritime. Yeah, but you go into the courtroom and there's a gold fringe flag. Now, how do we know the gold fringe flag is operating in something other than what we think it is? Okay, well, let's continue to read. It already said that right here, the gold fringe flag. So are you guys seeing this? Are you understanding? Are you overstanding? It says right here, historical use of the gold fringe flag is in the courtrooms. And it's particularly for military. If that's the case, and the courtrooms fly the gold fringe flag, that means that they're under military occupation. And because they're doing business there, that's considered commerce. So that's two things, two reasons to believe that the gold fringe flag indicates military, because they're telling you, commerce, because the flag is flown there, and it already says they deal with military, maritime commerce. There's your connection. It says it makes it more distinguished, but it is considered to be an embellishment. So if the gold fringe is an embellishment, let's drop down here to what embellishment means. Now you have to understand that the courts have the ability to operate in maritime or operate constitutionally, but they are heavily operated now in maritime. But yes, they can switch to constitutional, but most of those judges aren't real judges in the lower courts. They're not licensed. They don't understand constitutional law. That's why they look at you crazy when you start talking about your private side and whatever else. They're like, well, these are public courts. What are you talking about? We're operating maritime. It says the word embellish means to decorate, to enhance, or add ornamental details to something in order to make it more attractive or appealing. Okay, that's one of the definitions. It can also mean to exaggerate and to or add details to a story to make it more interesting. So if you're at why does it not just saying to lie? To embellish is to lie. You're modifying something to embellish, right? Do you see how this AI just will not, it's lying, and it's trying to tell you that this information is not a lie. This is a product of all of the information put out there by the public jurisdiction, which is opposite of the common law. It literally says here, it can also mean to exaggerate. To exaggerate a story is to lie. It didn't happen. Or add details to a story to make it more interesting. That's lying. To embellish is to lie. How do we know this? Let's drop down a little bit more. She embellished the wedding dress with pearls and lace. That means to add something that wasn't already there. If it wasn't already there, then you made it into something new. He embellished his fishing story by claiming the fish was twice as big as it really was. Embellished means lying. It's a beautiful lie. But notice down here how he tries to cover it up again. Gold fringe on the U.S. flags. That's not what I asked. I did not ask about the flag right here. I just said, what does that word mean? The gold fringe on the flag is an embellishment, meaning it's just decorative. It only means the decorative. It doesn't have any legal significance. I didn't ask that. It's lying. It's covering up for them. It's misleading people legally. How do we know that? Because we just read it right here. And it says, this falls underneath Army Regulation AR 840-10 and governs its use. That means it does have specific meaning in law. If something governs its use, it means somebody controls it. Army regulations. The Army regulates and governs its use of the gold fringe flag. So it has meaning. It is the corporation that runs parallel to what other things we have. Now, it throws in misinterpretations and myths. Well, you're doing misinterpretations and trying to create myths. You see this? It's saying the law of the sea. Well, maritime means sea. Everybody knows that. And it's saying, no, it doesn't mean sea. It absolutely does mean sea. You're lying. It says it has no legal impact. It says here, the Title IV does not address or regulate the use of the French flag. We know that because you already told us up here that, so if you're saying down here, the real America under Title IV does not address or regulate the flag, you're telling the truth. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have any legal impact because the Army does regulate and govern its use. You just said it up here. But the Title IV, all of this falls underneath Title IV. Title IV governs all of this, but the Army and in their jurisdiction, they can do their own governance over their things. So if Title IV doesn't address it, then that means that the Army does. It's theirs, their use. Are you guys seeing the lies? Official statements on the gold fringe. Okay, so it says the Institute of Heraldry. Okay, which is a U.S. government organization responsible for handling official flag designs and protocols. So here they're just saying, oh, it only is used for indoors and ceremonial purposes. So indoors for what? Well, they already said for courts, and that's military. Ceremonial, okay, means once again to embellish, to make something pretty, or to lie, or to make something pretty as a lie. And it is not an indicator of military admiralty law. So first of all, okay, great, you're a U.S. organization, but you're also an organization for the government. You're not official. Okay. Unless I see the word American, I'm not listening to you. I get it. They have their protocols and designs and whatever else. But see, here's the problem with this. It says here it's not an indicator of military or admiralty law. Okay. Now, maybe you can get away with it from saying the law part, maybe. Maybe I'm trying to help them out here. But it says it's not, but these people right here are saying that it's not an indicator of military. But up here, it literally just says this is for military ceremonies. And it's an army regulation, so it's regulated by the army and governs its use. So you're lying down here too. The reason why there's a confusion is because the original use by the people who did it, people who own the United States corporation, everybody, all these places around the world are using the corporate flag, but nobody knows what it means. But but even right here. So nobody knows what it means, but they're just using it. Oh, it just makes it pretty. But it also is not addressed or recognized by the United States of America Title IV section, which is the law over all of this. And they're pretty specific. They keep saying it's only for indoor use and ceremonies, indoor use and ceremonies. And it says right here, is not an indicator of the military, right? Then right here, the next sentence it goes, the U.S. Army Regulation 84010 explains the gold fringe is authorized for use on the U.S. flag for ceremony or indoor display purposes, but doesn't attribute any specific legal. So they're saying it doesn't have any legal. So if it doesn't have anything legal, you know what it probably does have? Corporate. Doesn't have any specific jurisdictional meaning to it. Well, yeah, it does. You just lied on yourself. Sure, it does. It's used under the army. If the army is using it and they can govern it, then it does have a jurisdictional meaning. Do you guys see how it lies? Usage in specific context, courtrooms. So you're telling me courtrooms are either what? Okay, so if they're right, so then it should be used indoor, okay? But it also means ceremony. So you're saying when I go to court, that gold fringe flag sitting across the way there, that's for a ceremony. So then I shouldn't take the courtroom seriously. It's a ceremony being put on. Or here, because the Army regulates the use of the gold fringe flag, then it's a military tribunal, an indoor military tribunal. So then it's not an Article 3 court. It's not a court of equity. Yep, you got some conflicting information here. I'm just saying. So other than that, who else uses it? Certain government offices and military ceremonies. I'm seeing three specific things here that they're saying that this is used in, but you're saying it doesn't have any legal or jurisdictional meaning. So that means that all these things are corporate, because that's the only other thing I can think of outside of it. Either it means private or corporate, or private corporate. Those would be the things that exist outside of this jurisdiction and this legal meaning. So that means the courtroom, the government, and the military are private and corporate, which is something we've said a long time now. It says the fringe is not mandatory, but it's permitted. But all these places use it. So they're either under military occupation. So that could mean if your state is flying their flag with a gold fringe or anywhere around the world, they're under some type of military ownership. They must be displayed indoors as a form of an embellishment. We know embellishment means lies. Pretty lies is what embellishment means. You've added something that wasn't there originally. So they embellished, made pretty the flag of the United States of America, which then legally changes it into something different. How do we know that? Because it's not talked about in the Title IV section for the United States of America's flag. This is what the guy in the military told me years ago. Look what it says here. It may be added to the edge of the U.S. flag for indoor display. So indoor, not outdoor. Indoor is corporate. Corporations are indoor. Particularly places like military headquarters. So that means any place you see must be a military headquarters, or it's a court. But who regulates that gold fringe? Oh, the military does under 840-10. Government offices. Where the flag is used for aesthetic or ceremony. Aesthetic just means for looks, appearance, embellishment. So either somewhere where they're lying, pretty lies, or it's a ceremony. So when I go to court, you tell me it's either pretty lies there or it's a ceremony. Then neither one of them are equity. See what I'm saying? Now don't go in there saying these things, okay? They're not going to like it because they're going to know what you're hinting at, and they're just not going to take you seriously. So don't address this with them publicly, okay? Now, if I wouldn't have been told by a high-ranking retired military official when I was 9 years old about this, I wouldn't believe anybody who told me this. But now that I can see for myself the actual regulation, somebody's lying. This is misinformation. They want to call it common misinterpretations addressed. No jurisdictional implications. So you're saying, here it says, the gold fringe does not change the flag's legal status. Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't change its legal status because it already has its legal status. It is what it is. It's under 840 AR 840-10. So yeah, this flag doesn't change its legal status. It already has its legal status. Nothing has changed. The way it should be written is this flag has no legal status, but here it says does not change the flag's legal status. That means the flag has a legal status, but the fringes don't change it. See how cleverly they wrote that? Or the authority of the location in which it's displayed. Yeah, because if it's displayed there, it already has its status. It's already claimed. It is something. It is purely ornamental and for use for formal occasions. Formal means public. With no implications for military or civilian jurisdiction. Well, we know that's a lie Because right here it says that this is under the Army's regulations and governance. You're lying. They're legally lying. They're splitting hairs. Now, of course, from their side, they're like, no, no, Wolf, you're not reading it right. I just literally broke it down. And once again, maritime and admiralty jurisdiction. So these courts, all of our courts can operate in maritime jurisdiction or admiralty or equity. Right here, our courts can operate common federal courts, common law, constitutional, statutory, equity, maritime only if it's relevant. This is why. So if you're saying the federal courts can the federal courts do all of these jurisdictions, which are American, but it can also see maritime, well, then where would most of the maritime courts be heard? Let's see what it says. Let's see how it lied. State courts handle most criminal, civil, and administrative matters and are governed by state laws, not maritime. Well, yeah, that's if you take it to state court. These regular courts deal in maritime. Usually, this is where you appeal it in state court. So that means the other courts are nisi prius and maritime. This is what we mostly deal with. The presence of a gold fringe flag in a courtroom does not change the court's jurisdiction. No, because the court is already in maritime jurisdiction. But you see how clever this is written here as a lie? This is a beautiful, beautiful embellished lie, embellished statement right here. Now here, I will be on their side with this one right here. I like how they found like these two little things. Let's see. United States versus Greenstreet. The court ruled that the presence of a gold fringe flag does not confer admiralty or maritime jurisdiction. Why? Why would it say this? If I'm right, why would it say this? I'll tell you why. Because the official written use of the gold fringe has been lost to antiquity. But the gold fringe is not represented or addressed in the Title IV. So basically, it's like a gray area because if the Title IV doesn't say it, you can argue, which is why these people lost their cases. If that flag sitting there is not the flag by its description in the Title IV, and only that Title IV description is an American flag, then this court is not an American court. I don't care if you want to call it admiralty, military, or whatever else. It's a private jurisdiction. Maybe it's corporate. Whatever you want to call it, it ain't American then by law. But this person, Greenstreet, did not in 96 didn't argue this point. So the judge ruled against it. This is why they say, "Oh, Wolf, you're not right." No, it just means this has not been overturned because nobody has utilized AR 840-10, or they haven't used Title IV description of the American flag. That's why they lost. So I can't say that they're wrong because by law it hasn't been overturned. But once it gets overturned, if somebody has the balls to go and do it, they will win. The claim that the court was under maritime jurisdiction because of the gold fringe flag was dismissed and patently frivolous. So a judge felt in 97, a year later, in Wisconsin, this one was done in Texas, that, oh, this is frivolous. This has no meaning whatsoever. Well, that's because this judge, who probably knows what's going on, in his mind goes, I know what you're talking about, but you didn't prove it to me. This is how they win. Because before the internet and ChatGPT, trying to find where the gold fringe flag was even mentioned is nearly impossible. The military has their books on that information. They have the old records of what it really means, but they're not releasing those because they would be stupid. I wouldn't do it either. But what you can use is the fact that Title IV does not mention or recognize a gold fringe flag. So if the Title IV doesn't mention the use of this flag and the gold fringe on the flag is a modifier, an embellishment, which is a pretty lie, is on the flag, under copyright law, that makes the flag something different. And if it's not seen on Title IV, then this flag and its use represents something either private, secret, corporate, foreign, but it's not the American flag. Without the information I just gave you guys, you're not going to be able to argue these merits. You're not going to be able to argue these merits and win in the courts. You're not. With this information, those court cases can be overturned by just using what I just said. You guys stay sharp. That's it. As always, it's education. Do your own research. Operate as you see. I'm not saying to do or not to do anything. This is just education. And with that conclusion, we're done. I'll talk to you guys later.